On his YouTube channel, Mirko Drochman presents his take on current affairs. A couple of weeks ago, he received an ominous email. An influencer agency based in London contacted me, which is not unusual. But what was strange was in their very first email they said, "We have some information here that we would like you to disseminate and we'll pay you for it." They asked him to discredit BioNTech and reference supposedly secret information that allegedly proves hundreds of people have died from its vaccination. He played along and took up their offer to find out more. I later got further instructions saying, for example, that my posts should come across as personal opinions and that I should not mark them as sponsored posts, which, by the way, is illegal in Germany, and that I should say that I came across this information myself. Around the world, YouTubers are being offered money in similar circumstances, like Leo Grasset, who lives in France.
We are at the center of something going on, like information war, and people need to be super cautious of what they read about, what they hear about.
France's health minister responded sharply to these attempts to manipulate public opinion. The vast majority of French people want to be vaccinated, and I don't think anyone from France or abroad can dissuade the French with such a negative communication campaign. According to research by German broadcaster ARD, YouTubers from other countries have already spread the dubious information. In India, for example.
So here there are two companies who provide vaccination.
This Brazilian YouTuber is also seen warning viewers against what he calls the dangerous vaccine. There are lots of famous people out there who will do almost anything for cash. It's dangerous, especially when it comes to things like elections. Influencers are being paid to place certain messages. Daniel Laufer, an editor at Germany's Netzpolitik.org news site, has been researching the issue. It's interesting that this company doesn't even exist in the British Commercial Register. It's a dummy company that doesn't even have a doorbell at the address provided. And we found its customers seem, by and large, mostly to be Russian. Mirko Drochman stopped researching the topic. The supposed agency apparently figured out he was leading them on and cut all contact.
And we want to continue the discussion with investigative journalist Daniel Laufer, who we just saw in that report. Daniel, welcome. The burning question raised in that report is who is behind this campaign? And so we ask, I guess, who benefits from the spread of this misinformation?
It's not entirely clear who's behind it, but whereas it's in general hard to say who might benefit from this information, in this case, I think it's rather obvious. You have a case where someone is trying to undermine trust in a vaccine in which a lot of people in the Western world are putting a lot of hope into. They basically are trying to make it look as if the governments were hiding something. The people behind this campaign wanted the influencers to claim that the media was hiding it as well. So whoever is behind this wants to create a situation in which it seems like the Western world is doing something really dangerous with their vaccine. And of course, if you look at the situation in Russia with their campaign in terms of their vaccine not developing the way they might have had hoped it would, it seems possible that it's coming from there. We found traces to Russia in terms of the company that's behind this disinformation campaign. And also, if you look at this Twitter account for Sputnik V, the Russian vaccine, it has been spreading similar messaging to this disinformation campaign now for weeks.
Daniel, how much of an effect can individual influencers have on changing public opinion?
You need to think about the way influencers usually work. I mean, they start talking to their viewers directly. They build up an image where they become something like perhaps a big brother or big sister to their viewers. So they have a lot of trust. And if your big brother or your big sister tells you something about their opinion, you, of course, listen. You take it very seriously. This is not like some remote ad that's being shown to you, this is someone who you really have a connection to, or you think you have a connection to, telling you something which eventually might change your political views, which might change the way that you feel about this vaccine in this case. So I think if they actually succeed at this campaign, which they did in some cases at least, I think it might have a great effect, even though it's hard to actually measure it.
Yeah, we've been asking for a long time now, it seems, what is being done and what can be done to stop this deliberate spread of misinformation.
The problem is it's very hard to regulate it because there's a thin line, and if you cross it, you're basically committing censorship, and you do not want to censor freedom of speech. This is not at all what you want to do, obviously. So this obviously means that you have to accept a lot of things that are out there that might be wrong opinions. In this case, it's about facts. It's more easy. But the thing is also, if you look at the way they did it, they took real numbers and then put them into a wrong context. So to figure out what was actually wrong with those numbers, you would have to thoroughly fact check this campaign. This takes time, and eventually you need to draw this conclusion. This is not something that you can notice right away when just looking at it because it pops up in your feed. So even, let's say, if the platforms then reacted to it and eventually took it down and sanctioned the people spreading it, it would still mean that the message had already gotten out.
Right.
And this makes it very hard to actually, somehow contain this kind of spread of disinformation.
Daniel Laufer, thanks so much.
Thank you.